Welcome back to In the Clear, the only show that's videos recorded on overdue blockbuster rentals. For those wondering what video this episode was recorded over, it was Jurassic Park 3. No need to thank me, you're welcome. Still can't believe they had a talking dinosaur. Remember that? Anyways, I'm your host, Tom Stark, and we have a ton of cool stuff to share with you this week. I absolutely love our new intro video. Shout out to Ariel and Joe for the hard work that went into that. For our guest this week, we have an interview with a very cool guy who may or may not answer a lot of your 3D printing questions. We have some new info to bring you on a very amazing development from Tesla CEO Elon Musk. It's not actually about Tesla, he just does things and we feel like people should know about it. And as always, I'll be complaining and wondering what I can say here without Joe getting too mad. So, sit back, relax, and let my word vomit destroy your brain cells one after another.
How do I 3D print these giant swords and props and fuse them together into one giant piece so they don't fall apart when I do this? I've made a couple really big swords so far with more on the way. And you guys are always asking how I take multiple pieces and fuse them into one big piece. Super glue is typically pretty terrible. And 2-part cyanoacrylate is cool for display things, but still doesn't hold up in the long run. The real secret is a soldering iron. I take a super cheap soldering iron and melt into the plastic and fuse the pieces together permanently. And unlike a 3D pen, I can penetrate down deep into the plastic to get an even better bond. I can even use old wasted scrap material to melt and fill the holes in. This will provide a much stronger fusion because you're just melting the plastic together forever. With a little sandpaper and wood filler, you can have a seamless look and a long blade. It's a valuable skill that'll take your printing to the next level.
That was Frank. He's a very popular internet guy who loves making things with his 3D printer. Who can blame him? Honestly, making things yourself is a cool feeling to begin with. In today's day and age, where 3D printing is now very real and publicly accessible, it's a new and interesting field for people to get into. That being said, they're not also the easiest things in the world to work with. Regular 2D printers are enough of a hassle, so Frank's taking his time to make things a little easier for all of us. All right, I'm here with Frank from Frankly Built. Frank, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. Nice to meet you, man.
Nice to
Thank
meet
you
you
for having me.
No problem. Pleasure to have you. So your big thing is the 3D printing, and you've gone a long way in learning yourself, and it seems like you've been teaching people too as you learn and you give back in that way. How did you get started with this whole thing? What, other than getting a 3D printer, like what was the idea behind it?
I'd always wanted an Iron Man suit. I think any kid who saw the movie was just like, what? And it was always just a pipe. Yeah, it was always just a pipe dream, but that'd be cool. It'd be cool to do one day. And after, I always felt like I could maybe do it. I grew up working on cars. I knew how to paint. I knew how to do electronics. Like I felt like I had all the little bits, but I needed the shell. I needed the frame of the car, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw Avengers Endgame, and I saw the Mark 85 suit, his last suit, and I was just like, I kind of like evaluated my life. I'm like, I have some money. Like I have a job. I'm good. I want an Iron Man suit. And hopped on the internet, started doing research. 3D printing was just kind of becoming this more affordable thing. Did a little bit more research, landed on a printer that every time I searched, this one specific Creality printer always seemed to come up. It was about $500, saved up, and that was almost 2 years ago. And here we are now.
Yeah, you've gotten a lot done in that time.
Yeah, it got out of hand.
It's not out of hand until you think it's a problem. When other people tell you it's a problem, you have a little while to wait.
Oh, I've constantly thought it's a problem. I'm not doing anything about it. So I'm very self-aware. It's totally fine.
At least you know. I didn't want to out you on the show like that.
No, it's fine. I get it.
What advice would you give to somebody who wants to get into 3D printing? I myself am actually looking at one at the moment. I'm looking at like an Ender 3, but like, you think research is the biggest key, or?
Absolutely. Don't do what I did and just pull the trigger on I did not do anywhere near as much research as I should have. granted, some of the resources were still budding in terms of 3D printing, big props and cosplay stuff. Information was limited, and that's why I started recording stuff and sharing it, because there was a need in the market, basically, or just I
Hmm.
don't know, I was like, I'm doing this thing. You'd see videos of people, they'd start 3D printing a suit and they'd never do any updates post, or they wouldn't give you a lot of information about it. Some people are really secretive about that type of stuff. And yeah, research, absolutely. There's so much more research now, even just in the past year, about the better
Hmm.
printers, the Creality community. Their customer service could be better, but the community that has formed around them, if you buy an Ender 3, tens of thousands of more people have that exact printer and already have gone through the problems that you might run into. So you don't need to do maybe as much research as you'd think, but just understand that there will be a learning curve. And it's not an appliance. It's not a microwave. It's not a power drill. It's not a blender. You buy it, plug it in, and it works all the time until it just breaks and that's it. You buy a new one. There is a learning curve with them still. They're still a hobby. Even the nice expensive ones, the $1,000 printers, they still are technically hobby level, and there is some understanding and trial and error required to learn it. So don't go in expecting it to just turnkey done. You are going to have to learn more aspects of it.
See, that's good to know because a lot of people do want something very simple that is like a plug and play option, and it's good to, I wouldn't say deter somebody from getting one because they know they're not going to be able to have that option, but to give them the realization that they're going to need to do
Exactly.
the work for it.
That's the one thing I never wanted to do, that disservice to anybody. And I know, unfortunately, it happens in some instance, just by people coming to my channel and seeing like, oh my God, he made an Iron Man suit with a 3D printer. I can do that too. Well, pump the brakes. It's a fine line between gatekeeping, which I always have to kind of, I don't want to talk, I don't want to just throw bad information at people and be like, yeah, well, you're going to have to do this and this and this, and well, you're going to have to do that. But I do want to paint a realistic path for people. Like, hey, it is very possible. You just need to take the right steps. So it's constant balance of, I'm not just trying to sell people 3D printers. I don't want that. I don't want somebody to go and spend $1,000 on a printer and then they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, especially because like you're not the one selling the printers. You really don't make a gain off that.
Yeah, no, I just want to show people that they can do this. That's the main, like, you can do this. Like that's possible.
Yeah.
So that's the goal.
What has your favorite project been so far other than the Iron Man suit? Like I see Stormbreaker, I see that's Guts' sword, right? I see a Nova helmet. You got a lot going on here.
I do. I definitely do. It used to be this sword right here, the Berserk, or not the Berserk sword, the Jawblade from Monster Hunter.
Hmm.
That was probably my favorite sword or otherworldly prop, if we're not counting Iron Man stuff. But just recently, I got done with
That
this
camera.
the other day, and I don't even have a video or pictures of it yet. So you get a cool little exclusive look.
Ooh, the Blade of Chaos.
Oh, don't worry, it's
Oh, the
plural.
Blades of Chaos. There we go, the right way.
Um, this might have just turned into like my favorite and best piece ever. I adore this thing, and it came out so much nicer than
It
I thought it
looks
would.
great. I think one of the coolest things about it, so just from seeing it right now, is I actually got my brother a pair of these like ordered for Christmas a few years ago. He's a huge God of War fan, and they were just too small. Like that's pretty accurate to the size. They are very big, like bulky pieces.
So if you pay attention through the game, the first God of War, this is about the size of his Blades of Chaos.
Yeah.
As the games progress, they get smaller and
Hmm.
smaller, and then he has the Blades of Olympus, and then he digs out the Blades of Chaos in the new God of War, and they're even smaller. I wanted these things.
Yeah, to look
I
original
wanted the
and
whole one.
raw.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of these.
They look awesome. And how do I put this? So I've seen your process on like fusing the larger pieces. Um, First off, that was an ingenious idea, just like melting them together.
I literally have my soldering iron hot right now
Yeah.
because I'm working on something.
um, when did that idea come to you? Did you get that from somewhere else, or was that like an original that now you're
showing everybody like this is the best way I've found to do it anyway, or?
I just tried it. I don't know. It went through a couple iterations because I kept using glue, and it's just a tool. It's not the best way to do it. It just works in a lot of instances that I've found, especially for larger things. But you can get super glue to be pretty much just as strong as long as you're prepping the surfaces properly.
Mm-hmm.
And what I was doing is I would glue parts together, and then I would take the first thing I tried, which was terribly bad for me. I took extra filament plastic, and what I would do is I would light the tip on fire and let it melt and drip into the cracks and crevices. Terrible idea. It completely changes the chemical composition of the plastic. Incredibly toxic fumes.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do that. Then I'm thinking, well, what about like a hot knife or something? And then I had a soldering iron. So I had a hot knife and I started to feed the plastic in, and I was only really doing it on the surface to smooth it out. And then my whole suit fell over and broke.
Ooh.
Luckily, it was still in the primer stage. It couldn't have happened at a better time. And that really made me reevaluate. Like the whole chest broke apart, the abs broke apart. It could have been much worse. I'm glad it happened when it did. That let me step back and like, I need to fuse these together better. And then I really started to get in there with the soldering iron and really mix and melt the plastic together. And I did a lot of stress testing, and it was breaking everywhere but the places I was welding, which is what a weld is, even with metal, is supposed to be.
Time for one more question here.
Okay.
We already talked about like what advice you would give to people. Just what is the biggest thing you say you've gained from doing all this? Like, what has this pulled anything out inside of you? Do you think of things in a different way? Like, has this affected your life in what way?
It's affected. Oh, wow, that is a loaded question. It's definitely changed my life. It's hard to explain, but just being able to make things, I don't know. There's just a nice freedom about it. It's therapeutic. Granted, there are times I've gotten frustrated and just had to take a break from stuff.
Of
But
course.
when you get done, like when I got done with those Blades of Chaos, I just kind of backed up and just was looking at them like, I made that. Like, what? Like, oh my! I was just proud that I made it. And it's relaxing. It's cool to I think it's neat to make this stuff, and you get to share it with people and show them like, hey man, I made this. Like, and then people will reciprocate it, being like, oh, I want to try to make that, and you share ideas. So I've made some amazing friends through this. I've been introduced into a community that I never knew I would be a part of, and it's been awesome. Yeah, it's like every little thing I've learned from being a kid all the way to the trade schools I've gone to. It's like it's prepped me for this because I always used to build Gundam models and Legos, and then I used to work on cars and electronics and audio systems, and I started gaining all these little different skills, and now I get to put all of them into anything I want, an Iron Man suit, little props and cosplay things, and it all just fits. Oh, it's been awesome.
That was actually a really, really nice answer. That was great to hear. All right. And that's all the time I have. Oh, hi. Tail. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, no problem, man. I like doing these because if I can just show one more person or 100 more people or 1,000 more people, like, wait, you can 3D print that stuff? Like, just get that question in their mind, and then I'm good. Happy with that.
Frank did take the time to show me some cool stuff he's been working on that he wasn't ready to share publicly just yet. If you want to see some more of that, or some stuff that's yet to come, here are some of his tips or tutorials in the links in the description below. Moving on, we wanted to show off another groundbreaking piece of tech that hasn't actually broken ground.
It's an expression.
Look, I get that. All I'm saying is some expressions are outdated. This is Building a Better World, the segment where we show you something amazing that has happened in the realm of science and technology, while we continuously attempt to get Keanu Reeves on the show unsuccessfully. Today we wanted to turn your attention to Neuralink. Neuralink is a new developing technology that is working on integrating the brain with a computer. Essentially, humankind's first steps into a cyberpunk world. Although I would love to talk about all the crazy ideas I have for that, there are many great implications for the technology that will help people who are less fortunate. The whole idea of Neuralink in the first place is to help people with paralysis be able to use a computer with their mind. So, we're very far away from this tech being available to the common public, where rather than people going to a tattoo parlor to get fresh ink, walking into the Neuralink store and asking for the new Brain Chip 6 isn't something accessible yet. The newest and most amazing development, however, was using an implant to get a monkey to play Pong with its mind. The monkey in question was named Pager, and is the first monkey to play Pong with its mind, lagging only slightly behind older generations who played with controllers. This is huge. It's the biggest step towards a working interface, and this company only started up 5 years ago. This tech is completely plausible in the foreseeable future. Enough ranting about the company Elon helped to start. More info, as well as Pager's Pong skills, are listed in the description below. We've brought on some crew recently that have made our work, progress, and brand look better and work better. Allegedly, our writing isn't that great still because we just used better twice in a row. As the writer myself, I'm making a mental note. Adjectives, Tom. Adjectives. Anyway, I brought that up because our weekly poll hasn't been getting the love it deserves. But with these new improvements, we've decided to keep it going, and we think it'll gain some ground. So now, time for the debate. This is Two Types of People, the segment where we put age-old arguments up on the internet and figure out who is more prominent and who's wrong. Today's poll: hamburgers or hot dogs when you go to a barbecue? The Twitter link is in the description below. Let us know your thoughts so we may bring that up, and yeah, I guess that's it for this week. Thanks for stopping by. Let us know in the comments what kind of stuff you'd like to see brought up, debated, or just discussed. Please like and subscribe and have a great week, but not too great. It's a contest and I want to win.